Continuing on with the Gina Carano story, let me see if I can get the article. Okay. Lucasfilm drops Mandalorian star Gina Carano following offensive social media posts. Now, they had a story earlier in the day, but let's see what's in this one. Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future, a Lucasfilm spokesman said in a statement. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know what this spokesperson's talking about. Anyway, Carano shared several offensive posts on her Instagram stories Tuesday night, including one that likened contemporary political differences to the treatment of Jews in Nazi Germany. Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children, Carano wrote on Instagram. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? The post originated on a different Instagram account. In another post, Gina Carano shared a photo of a person wearing multiple cloth masks with the caption, "Meanwhile, in California." Both posts were gone by Carano's Instagram by mid-Wednesday. Other posts, including one in which Carano wrote Jeff Epstein didn't kill himself, remained. Okay, those are the things she wrote that are so offensive, right? I mean, she's just, that's an opinion. The stuff about Nazi Germany, as far as I know, that is true. This is what I'm saying. I'm not getting that from her. I'm getting that from the history things I've watched, what I learned. It's not anti-Jewish by any stretch of the imagination. If you can read that, if you can understand what she's saying that people were being targeted by other people because they were seen as an other, and that has gone on throughout time. It's not particular to today, it's not particular to Nazi Germany. It's what happens when people see somebody over there as different from themselves and the cause of their problems. So you could do that with so many different groups right now. You could do that with people who think that people of a certain race and a certain background cause all the problems in their life, and it has nothing to do with just life. You could say that about people who think people of a different gender cause all the problems in their life, and then they hate them for it. And the problem is, whenever people get into groups, this is why I talk about being an individual, and to me, this is what this woman is. She's an individual. That's why, although I know very little of her, I did not follow her sports career. I've barely seen her in anything. I think it's great that she stands up as an individual and speaks for herself, because when you group yourself, when you say, I'm in this group, and I believe this is where racism comes from, any stereotyping comes from. It's when you stereotype yourself, it's when you group yourself, it's when you say, I am in this group, and you identify with that group heavily. Once you categorize yourself, once you put some labels on yourself, then it's going to follow that you're going to label other people. And if you think you're in a group and you start labeling everybody else, you're going to label people as either being in your group or outside of your group. And then That doesn't make you racist. That doesn't make you hate the other groups. But it starts down that path. And from my opinion, if you just be you, your own individual human being, with your own thoughts and feelings, and, you know, the human suit we wear when we come to this planet, whether we're just born as babies and it's all just a normal biological process, or we come from the divine and we're all higher beings that are here in the earth school to learn a lesson, or if we come from a different planet and we're all fighting some galactic war that we forgot about, but we're playing humans right now. Whatever the case may be, you're just in the body you're in for one lifetime. Whether we have more than one lifetime or not, I don't know. I didn't choose the body I was in, nobody did. You know, and what my body looks like based on where my ancestors come from, I never really felt that it had that much to do with me. And I don't think that has that much to do with you, because as far as I'm concerned, I didn't choose to be born in this body on the day I was born, in the city I was born, to the people I was born. So to over identify with it and make that who I am, that's not who I am. Who I am is on the inside, and who you are is on the inside. And none of that has to do with race or gender or anything like that. As far as I'm concerned, that's my opinion. So when I meet you or I'm confronted with another human being, I have to get to know who you are, because you is on the inside. I can't judge it from the outside. I can't judge that from where your grandparents came from. I can't judge that by what the religion you say that you subscribe to is. I can't judge that based on anything you could fill out on a form, any box you could check off on ethnicity or gender or any of those things. I can't know you based on those things. And that's why, for me, the road we've started traveling down doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Let's see. And so anybody getting hung up because you think somebody's opposing your group, it's so hard for me to even get into that headspace of thinking I'm in a group, I'm offended by that group over there is coming for me because I'm in this group and they hate me, and now I have to hate them back. The whole concept is lost on me because I don't group myself in the first place. But this isn't even about that until maybe we get to this. Carano was no stranger to controversy on social media. In November, she was criticized for mocking people who specified preferred pronouns when she updated her Twitter bio with beep bop boop, which she later removed. I remember that. I saw it and I understood it. Nobody is trying to trigger people. Nobody is trying to attack people. But when you're attacked all day long and called names all day long and told you belong to all this kind of, again, horrible group of people who are out to get people or out to hate people, it gets tiring. And this is why I'm saying, to me, people who believe in being an individual and people who believe in being in a group are having this clash, because the pronouns thing, I just said I don't want to put myself in groups. I don't want to put labels on myself. That's all about putting labels on yourself. It's saying I'm going to label myself. I'm going to label myself with these pronouns. You must now treat me by these pronouns, by the way you're supposed to treat these pronouns. I'm not transphobic. I want everybody to be happy. If someone is born in what they believe is the wrong body and they need to go through the process and they're not being taken advantage of by doctors who I don't trust in the first place, but I don't trust that they do screenings like they once did. I think that there's a rush to medicate people and to get people operated on, because in the end, operations are moneymakers for doctors, and constant appointments are moneymakers for doctors. And my only um, fear with the transgender community rushing to support the physical alterations of themselves and children with what are they called? I think they call them in parlance they call them puberty blockers, but they're drugs that stop you from going through puberty, and they give them to children now if they are trans children. So my problem is that I would worry that children and adults are being harmed by unscrupulous physicians who would allow all and sundry to just immediately start treatments that they may need or may not need, but the doctors, in a quest for cash, may not do the proper evaluations on people, and in that way trans people would be being, or people who believe they are trans would be being taken advantage of to horrible detriment if they were not properly screened. And I'll tell you, when I was in college, which is okay back in the day, I went to college at NYU. I was a freshman in 1991. And human repro class, they showed us a video. I'm gonna give the whole story, so I don't want anybody coming after me. They showed us it was an older movie about a guy who believed he was trans, and he went through the process supposedly, but he wasn't really trans. He was just gay, but he had already had an operation, the big one, and now come to find out he was just gay. And because the idea in this video was that previously, before that moment in time, like I said, that video seemed a little bit older, so that I was watching it in like 1991, 1992, but it was probably recorded earlier, with the idea that what happened to this guy had happened because in the past, so go before the 90s, in the past, screenings for trans people were not done properly, and people were just overzealous, and that's why they were explaining that you have to go through the process of, if you're, let's say you're a trans female, the process of living as a trans female for very many years before they even start down the path of any physical alterations. So that's always in the back of my mind. And I have, like I said, I have no issue with any trans person, but I have issues with people being taken advantage of. And sometimes I worry, especially about children, that overzealous doctors may be doing permanent harm to people who do not fall into that category, or should not fall into that category, but mistakenly believe they do, or they need more time to be sure. You know, that's my opinion. So to me, I know if I say things like that, I'll get attacked as transphobic. I'm not transphobic. Not in a million years. But so when she did this and she said beep bop boop, and I saw it and I was like, okay, because there's an effort to force people who aren't trans at all to say their pronouns, just like there was an effort to force people to say Black Lives Matter. which, as long as you believe in freedom of speech, you shouldn't force anybody to say anything. And when somebody doesn't say the words you want to force them to say, you can't deduce that they now hate the group that you're trying to, like if you say, you try to force somebody to say Black Lives Matter and they say, you can't force me to say words. There are people in this world right now who are going to say, well, that means you're racist. That doesn't mean you're racist. That means don't try to force words into my mouth no matter what they are. Don't try to force ideas into my head. Don't try to tell me what I have to think and what I have to say. That is totalitarian. That is dictatorial. And that's what I'm saying. Anytime even if suppose somebody tries to get you to say that you are the gender you are, and that you live in the state you live in, and that you are the height that you are, and you have the color eyes that you have, and they insist that you say that right now. Even though those things would be true if you said them, nobody should have to force you to say anything. This is the problem. This whole thing coming from this side is dictatorial, and that is against the United States of America and what I believed it was always about, which is freedom. Your personal freedom. Okay? So, what I do know is that there are other countries in this world where you no longer have freedom. Now, when I was growing up, that was supposed to be Russia. That's not Russia no more, for the most part. They can say and do what they want. They can practice the religions that they want to. When I was a kid growing up, they couldn't do any of that shit. Okay? But over time, the bad guys in that way became China. China is the one where they will not allow people to have Twitter. China is the one where they force you to do and to conform and to be that way. So when we have a situation now where all of a sudden the United States is trying to force people to do things the way China forces their people to do things, everybody should be going, wait a minute, I don't live in a communist country. I don't live in a totalitarian society. You can't do that to me. You know, our forefathers, right? The framers that we talk about, they would absolutely revolt against that. Okay? They would be like, hell no. We wrote this Constitution. We know what it says. Freedom of speech. Okay? So when the people who are being controlled by these entities who may be in league with the Chinese government, because who knows where these people get paid, who knows where the money's coming from, but when there's such a push to be pro-China and let's say anti-Russia, which Russia's over there minding their business, but every time something happens, the media will blame Russia. Meanwhile, they want us to hug China, even though their stories come out every now and again. I do not know how to pronounce it. Is it Uyghurs or Uyghurs? There are people in China being systematically raped because they belong to, I think they're Muslim. I'm not sure. And it was almost a news story last week, but then it wasn't. Because the Chinese government and the horrible shit they do is always being protected. Why? When we were getting hacked, there was the Sony hack, I don't know if anybody remembers this, and they had hacked Hollywood emails, and I think it was Amy Pascal's email said that Angelina Jolie was a minimally talented something, you know. That was China that had hacked it. And at the same time, I think China had hacked like Target or something. But they never bring that up. They always try to talk about how Russia's hacking. Well, you know what? Everybody's hacking everybody. Government people, private citizens, people are hacking people all the time. That's the dark part of the internet. That's what came along with it. But for my money, if I was going to look at a country and say which country is coming after us, which country we having a problem with, it's China. Do I want to have a problem with any country? No. Do I dislike Chinese people? No. This has nothing to do with the people of any country. This has to come. That has to do with what I'm talking about. It has to do with the mindset and the forced way of thinking that comes from the ideology that people are forced to have in places where they're not as free as we're supposed to be in the United States of America. But lately, we are not free to have our own ideologies. We are being forced to have ideologies, and I'm saying, where does that come from? And who's pushing it? Okay? And this is where I'm going with this.